Hello guys, welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to show you how you can make that CV which I showed in my previous video to make in PowerPoint. So first of all, we are going to change the slide size into A4 and portrait and make sure it's in SureFit. Now remove the outline and then simply we are going to start with making the basic outline, which is the sections in the resume. So go in the shapes, take a square, and then make sure that you make these adjacent squares in this one. You can change the length or width of the square or depending upon the area that you want to give for that particular region. For example, this is the portrait region, so you can give a small square shape. Then for the next region, you may have a same shape, but you can increase the height of the shape. So in this case, I'm going to change the height to 2.48, and similarly I'm going to repeat the same steps for other objects also. So what I can do instead is I can just press Ctrl Shift and I can just drag that image, leave the cursor, and then it will be just copied down below. Similarly, I'm going to make this section also, which is the last section in the resume, and I'm going to reduce the height for this shape a little bit for an extra segment below the CV. So now these segments are done. So now we are going to make adjacent sections on the right hand side. So just copy the shape first, like I'm going to select these three, and then I'm just going to press Ctrl and Shift, drag them here, it will just copy them, and then I'm just going to extend them to the end of the slide, end of the page, so that I can have a same border. So now I'm just going to do this one for the last one so that it has covered the remaining space. Now let's just go to the eyedropper and select the colors that we want. Just select the colors that we want from any picture or shape that you like. You can just use eyedropper tool and then you can just choose the colors that you want for a different gradient. Normally it's difficult to choose a color that you want, so it's better that you have color grading. It will be more easy for you to select the colors. Now let's work on the picture part. Most of the things are simple and easy to do, and I have also shown my previous videos, so might I skip all those parts in this video so that it can be more short and more easier to understand. Now this is a small circle, and make sure the height and the width of the circle is same. Now simply going by shape fill options, you can go to the fill option, close the line one, open fill option, select the picture or pattern fill, and you can select the picture that you want from a file or just online picture that you want. So it's recommended that you use from the file so that it is easier for you to use the picture that you want for your own resume. Normally it's recommended that you use your own portrait images, that is more convenient and easier to use. So in this way I'm just going to find this picture and then it's going to place inside. So once you click, it is automatically going to be placed within the circle and you don't have to crop it anymore. Now let's work on the other part. Most of the part is simple, that you can just simply use text and you can just make them, which I normally show in my videos in my previous videos. Now I'm going to write a title section, which is the name first, and then I'm going to change this font to a specific font, which is Century Gothic. Now after you change this Century Gothic font, make sure that the main name is the most capital, most larger one in size in comparison to the other text. So now I've made this at 30 in font, and then rather with that I'm going to work with a different color, which is white. So make sure your name is elegant, the name is more prominent in your CV, because that's the most important part of your CV. So now we're working on other parts, that how are you going to make icons that can represent effectively each and everything. For example, if you're representing a specific place or your location where you live, so you need to show that in which part of the country or in which part of area you live. So this CV adopted a good style in which they just showed a small map, and in that they pinpointed the location, showing that I belong to this city or this country, this region, part of the world. So that's another way to represent where do you live and how do you want to represent your area or location as. If you don't want to disclose your own locations, you can just use these kind of tips. So in other ways, what you can do is you can just use a pinpoint location. You can change the color and make it more vibrant or more bright or more visible. In that case, you can use more light blue color or a more prominent color, which is yellow or golden or something like that, or even white is good enough. So you can use that color to show and pinpoint any location. So now you can see that the map over there is a lighter color and the pinpoint shows another color. So now we are going to work on the other part, which is the icons. So now which icons to use and how to use. So most of the people say that they don't have icons because they are not using Microsoft PowerPoint or Office 365, which provides the icon by itself. But don't worry for that. You can make your own icon simply by using simple tools. You just need a bit of creativity, like you just need to think out of the box, like how can you make a certain shape using different shapes available in the Microsoft PowerPoint. So if you want to make a ruler, if you want to make something else, just use small block and put some lines inside and you can have a ruler itself. So Now I'm working on the job designation, like what is the specialty for that particular person. Let's say he's a web developer, web designer and developer. So right now I'm just choosing a different color, which is I want a different color for this one. So you can select any color that you want by using eyedropper tools. That's the most convenient way that you can use. For example, if I want to select any color or different color but I cannot find in the color palette, what you can do is you can use eyedropper tool, select that color, and you can easily make that. But sometimes the image is not available in that part, so what you can do is you can copy that image, paste in the PowerPoint as an image, and then you can select the color from there. So now I'm trying to show you how you can make an icon, the one showed in the image. So for example, you have these two icons, and one is a square and one is a pencil. Now you can rotate this 90 degrees to each other, and you can see that they cross each other at a single point, but the difference is that the other one is a little bit thicker and this one is a little bit thinner. So you can make them equal in size by doing small adjustments. But in this case I'm just going to use the same image, and so that it can be more easier for you to understand, and also see how it reflects the two things together. So now I'm writing the part of the city. These are text parts, and the major part which I want to show is which text I'm using, which font I'm using. So I will show you one sample, and then I will repeat the same steps for the other part. Now I'm just removing the outline for this image, and you can already see the image, the slide is already showing its color. Like that means that it's showing that how beautiful it's going to look in the end after you remove the outlines of the shapes. Now let's work on the personal information part. So the personal information part includes different parts, which includes its name title. So for that I'm going to include some icon that can represent. It's not necessary that you are going to use the same icons that I'm using right now. You can use any representation to represent any block or any section of your resume or CV. So for example, right now I'm just using a book in this case, which shows that these are my personal details which I'm sharing with you in my CV. So you can see that I'm just going to give it a different color, and then I'm going to give a section name for this section. So remember, as I told, the name section has the most large font in the whole CV. So similarly, following that, you can use the subsection which is a bit smaller size, but make sure the font name, which is Century Gothic, is same for the title slides. So after you do this, what you can do is you can make sure that this information is within the space provided for that particular section. What you can do is you can either decrease the size of the text, but make sure that you are consistent throughout this resume. Like if you are making 14 size or 16 size for this section, make sure you keep the same size for the other section also. So right now in this case, I'm just going to make sure that the title and the size are same and are consistent with the image that I show, because that can help you understand like how you can make that particular resume in Microsoft PowerPoint and make it easier for you. So I noticed that they are using capital font, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat the same steps, and I'm going to make sure that this is as similar as the one shown in the resume. I'm going to adjust the name, and I'm just going to move it a little bit so that it can be of the same height as the one shown in the picture. Alignment is really important when you are making any document or anything or any slide for your own presentations. So make sure they are well aligned, and when it comes to alignment, you can just drag them and you will see an imaginary line or dotted lines which show that this is centered or placed well in middle of the shape or wherever you want. It will just show you the alignment that you want. So now let's work on the other section, which is the portrait, your nationality, and the experience that you want to have for the particular job that you mentioned above. And then you can work on your this text part. Use again, the title will be Century Gothic, but this time the size for the font will be a little bit smaller than the previous font, because we just want to make it a little bit smaller, but rather we want to show the other information more bold and more emphasized. Remember, this format is from Microsoft PowerPoint, and this is just a format, so most of the people like this format, so I just wanted to give a small tutorial at how you can make it, and also I will give a template file for this so that you can easily make for your own resumes. This is not a sample, this is not a template, not recommended or it's not like that I don't recommend this one, but you can use depending upon the area that you are applying. But you should make sure that what is a template and what is a required template from any company or any other country that you are applying for. So be sure for that, and rest of the things that you can use freely and however you like. So now this part is done, and after that when this part is done, I'm going to increase a little bit so that it looks more justified and doesn't look too small in the whole image. After that, I'm just going to drag this part a little bit down, and followed by a small separation using a small line which can separate each section. So one section and separating line, and then separating section, and then when the last section comes, then you won't need any other line. So make sure that you do the same thing in your own resume when you are making one. So once one sample is done, I'm just going to repeat the same steps so that I can save a bit of time. Although this video is a bit longer and than the normal videos that I post, but I want it to be a bit slower, so I then want to be a little more slower so that you can easily catch up with every step and you can see how I do it. So now pretty much that if you have watched my previous video, you can easily understand how to do these simple basic things and how you can easily manage these things easily. So now after that, I'm just adjusting and trying to manage the other parts also, and after that you can see that I place the other parts here. Now I'm going to change the information shown within these ones and remove the bottom line so that we only have 3 sections and 2 separating lines. After that, let's just change the inside data inside. I'm going to change the nationality here, which is Sweden. Just a sample nationality, you can write Pakistani, Korean, Chinese, whatever you want, depending upon your own nationality, not someone else. So I'm changing the captions here as to make it more easier, and you can just simply click inside and change the caption that you want for that particular resume. Okay, so years experience, some people want to include, some people don't want to include, so it depends on them, like which section do you want to show in any particular information, like which thing you think will have a greater impact for your resume and for your profile on the recruiter or wherever you're applying. So make sure that you choose your categories and options very precisely and very carefully, like which options you want to show and which options you don't want to show. So similarly, I'm going to repeat the same step for the contact information, but I'm going to show you how you can do that for the language part. Same and easy steps. I repeated the contact information part, you can do it simply like that, but I'm going to show you how you can do the language part, which has some bars and will show that this is a bar and can will show represent that what is the command level of yours in that particular language. So people have different language commands like English, Spanish, French, and some people also have a command on Korean or some other languages that they like or that they study while their course in any particular country, or like when they go for scholarship, something like that. So they can have intermediate to average or basic level understanding for any language, so they can add that in their resume to make it as a plus point for the resume and to make a plus point for the profile also. So now as you can see that for languages we are using a flag font, which is a flag icon which is representing a country. So different countries have a different flag, so that's why languages has an icon with that. Now as you can see that this is one shape, so in order to replicate that, copy this shape again and remove the outline first. So copy this shape again and give it a dark color, and after that copy this shape again and place another that shape on the top of that one. And after that, when you want to show that one particular bar is filled this much, you can have a dark color or light color for the background and the dark color for the top part. So this is how you can show that this part is this much filled in a level from intermediate to basic or to high level. So we are going to copy the text from the top, and we are going to repeat the same step for the other languages that we want, or just to cover the space that you have, I'm going to make another section, and you can see how I can do it. So just copy that and select them, drag it down below, and here you are done. Now last part is the hobbies part. So you can, instead of typically writing one text, you can make some small icons that can represent what kind of hobbies you want. For example, if you like to play table tennis, or if you like to take pictures of you like photography or something, you can just use simple icons like camera or table tennis, or you can just use rackets or something that can represent that your particular hobby in that case. So I'm just going to use different icons to represent the hobbies, and then I will move to the next section. So here we go. So now the hobbies part is done using a dark gray color font, so that can represent the hobbies itself. And then we are going to remove the outline for this shape, and we can pretty much see that our resume started to take a good shape, and it's looking much better than the previous start when we had nothing. Obviously, of course, that's a plus point. So now we are going to work on the about me part, reduce the font a little bit, and make sure the title is Century Gothic and the title size is 16. And then you can add another shape to represent about me section. This is also a text section, so I'm not going to repeat the same steps again, so I'm just going to move a little bit more further. I'm going to show you the most important part where I'm going to spend a little bit of time so that you can learn more about it. So let's go to that next part. So after about me, the most important part was the education, like how you can make a timeline for the education. So it's simple, just go to insert menu, and after that take a line. So take a line and draw that line, and you can change the color of the line if you want, and then take a small circle. So make sure that you reduce the size and height of the circle to 0.29 by 0.29, and make sure that its height and width are same to keep a good orientation, but it still looks too big, so I'm going to make it 0.20 instead. so 0.2 and 0.2 length and height, and the size reduce. Put a circle here for one section, like for the high school, then you can put another one for your secondary school or higher secondary school, then the college, and then the university or PhD or masters. How many levels that you have, you can choose according to that. Also make sure that the space between the circles are even and they are not off, like they should have equal space between each other. Like first comes the school and then comes the degree that you attain from that school. So that's how you can show your education part. So I'm going to repeat the same steps for the education also. Title in the white and the subtitle in the gray font, so that they can have a difference and they can show more, they can be more prominent when you are presenting that. With that, we will move to the next section, which is the career details, which I'm going to show you how you can make that part. These are easy steps, that's why I'm skipping and I'm going to the main part, so that can be more interesting and more easier to see how we can do it, because that's more easier text part. Copy text and paste as text in specific line, and you can easily do that. So now I'm going to work on the career timeline, which shows that in this particular year I was working here and in this particular year I was working here. So it can show an overall picture, like in which time of the year I was working at which place. So first of all, make a small bar. And then for each level of experience to each company that you shifted, you can make another square. For that, you can just make a small square and move it, drag it to another place. Similarly, you can make another section depending upon the number of companies that you switch. It will show you that how many companies you switch in a typical tenure or typical year span. For example, if my first company I joined was in 2017, then my second company was in 2018, and then 2019. It shows that how quickly I changed my position, which is normally not good for the profile. So let's just adjust the space and remove the outline of the shapes and give them a dark blue color, so that it can be a more good representation of the thing that you want. I normally do care for the alignments, because this is the most important part and makes your representation more appropriate and more aligned and good looking. So that's why I care about this a lot. So right now this text is not too prominent, so I'm going to give them a white color, and similarly for the subtitles I'm going to use the gray font. So once I'm done with this one section, I'm going to repeat the same step for the other section, but you can change your company and your experience in different companies depending upon your own profile. So just to save time, I'm going to repeat the same for the other parts also. I'm just going to copy them and paste them in the next part. So after this is done, I'm going to add one more detail, like at any specific company, how did I perform and what were my achievements over there. Like if I did or designed something that was way out of the scope, like which was very interesting and really important for my profile highlight, so I can show that part in this slide. So you can just make small markers like simple line and a circle on the top of it, and then you can show that this is my highlight of that my highlight from that particular company which I used to work for. Also, now when you're dealing with icons, make sure all the sizes are same. So for example, for about me, education, and for the career timeline, make sure that all the fonts are same. In this case, I kept 0.25 for all of them. Now we are going to head toward the last part, which is the most important part, and you can also see that how I can make the different circles and represent them more effectively. So as I told that, now I'm going to add a similar text which is showing my achievements in my career timeline. So I'm going to repeat that step again, and then I'm going to move towards the next step. Now the most important part, like how can we make the circles and make them a little bit more transparent. So it's really easy. Draw a circle first, and then you choose the color that you want and go to transparency and reduce transparency. So giving them a transparency means that you can easily reduce the opacity of an object, and you can easily see through them any other shapes. So right now I'm going to bring it front, because that one showed that image is a little bit behind, so I'm going to do like that. And similarly, I'm going to reduce the transparency a little bit more so that can be easily seen. Now this is how you make these circles, and you can easily repeat the same steps by just copying the same shape and then giving them a different color to represent what you really want to show. So in this case, I'm just going to make small circles and make this circle a little bit more bigger than the other circles and make it smaller, so that we can emphasize on the thing that you want to emphasize more in a more beautiful way. So now for this one, I'm going to use a different color, which is light gray tone, and light gray tone will help us make it less important or not that important than the main part. And similarly, you can reduce transparency to show that image as less important or something else. Like you can drag the attention from one part to another by just using simple colors. So now it's time to work on the text part. You can use different colors, and then after that, reduce transparency, and let's work on the text part. Go to insert, add a text box, write a text inside, and make sure that the text is Century Gothic. That will help and make it more prominent, look more beautiful. you will eventually see that how does the font make a picture or diagram look really different from the one that you normally see in a simple design with using basic fonts. Using elegant fonts or using different fonts will really improve the outlook of your design that you are presenting. So for example, if I'm using UX UI design, this is simply a Calibri font. Now see what happens if I change this font to another font, which is the Century Gothic font. So right now this is in this form, and when I'm going to change this to Century Gothic, just note the difference and how different they look. I'm going to repeat the same step for the other circle also, and this is how it will look in the end. And now comes the scales part, like how I'm going to show my scales in different circles. Simply what you can do is you can change the title first. That's the main part, because you want to make them prominent to make it white, and then followed by that you can make small circles. And in those small circles, what you can see show is that this is the level from basic to the maximum, and I have this number of experience or 70% of skill set for this particular software or particular skill that I mentioned. So what you can do is copy one square, make it circle, make sure it's even, and then to make it simple, select them, go to align, and then you can make them align to top, and then after that you can distribute them horizontally as you want. So right now they are not distributed horizontally, so what I will do is I will make an ending point and starting point, and then I will allow them to be distributed horizontally. So like that, I'm going to select them, going to align to top, and then I'm going to mark my ending position so that they can be distributed from the starting to the ending point, align to top, and then distribute horizontally. And now you can see the difference between them. So now they are equally separated, but they are too congested, so I'm going to delete one of them. I'm going to align them to top and then distribute horizontally again. Now you can see that they have specific distance between each other. So now for the parts that I want to show, that these are my skill sets, I'm going to keep them as dark colored or light colored, or just remove the outline first. And then for the ones that shows the empty circles, I'm just going to show them with a dark color. That means these are empty. So the highlight one, the bright one, shows the available scale, and the light one shows the available scale, and the dark one shows the empty scales, like they don't show any value. So that's how you can represent and make a CV that I showed in my previous diagram really easy and simply. I hope you guys like this video, and if you haven't watched my previous videos, you can watch in the link in the description. Till then, take care. Allah Hafiz.